I got into the knife making hobby about 5 years ago. That's the first time I actually tried to make a knife, but always my entire life been interested in working with steel, the chemical composition of steel. I got started, first job I ever had, which was back in the 60s. And it was as a metallurgical technician for Atlantic Steel Company. And that job ended, a big strike, and I had to go out and find another job. But I always consider that one of my... Okay, so we're going to be making canister Damascus out of chopped up pieces of bandsaw blade and 1095 powdered steel. We're going to place everything and pack it tightly in this canister, and then we'll weld a cap on the top of that, and that will keep all the air out and make it possible to forge all these pieces of metal and the powder into a solid billet of Damascus steel. All right, we'll start by placing the slivers of bandsaw blade. Get a bunch of them in here, and then we'll also add some powdered steel. And it's very important that this powdered steel fill every single gap. Bandsaws blades are made of spring steel. More than likely this is 5160, and which does a very good job of forge welding. See if I had too much. If I add powder now, I can't get the blades in there. And you can see they're starting to fill the void. As I said, this is my first attempt at making canister Damascus. Watching the Forged in Fire show, I've seen them do it a number of times, and I always wanted to try it. So, let's see how I do. Before I try anything new, I always try to learn as much as I can about it. Watching it on the TV show is good, but it doesn't show everything. There are many new YouTube videos that shows the whole process, the things to do and not to do, and I'm trying to do all of that. For example, this is the cap that we're gonna weld onto the top, and I drilled a pinhole right through the middle. You're supposed to leave a pinhole for the gases to escape as it's heating up. Otherwise, you're going to end up blowing the billet apart while it's in the heat. By the way, everything in my forge for knife making, I made myself. And for that reason, I consider myself to be a scavenger. I try to use things that I already have laying around or that I find. You can't go out and order a lot of these things. Sometimes you can order the steel and stuff like that, but you have to also be willing to do a lot of scavenging. This 2 by 72 inch belt grinder I made myself. This I got off of YouTube and ordered the plans to make this device. The thing is, I have to fabricate every single part, cut out the steel, weld it, and it turns out to be a wonderful machine. Okay, the Buford Buzzard Forge is under my deck. And the reason for that is I live in a subdivision, and the neighborhood covenants won't allow an outside building on the property. Garages are for cars, and I'm not going to weld and burn steel inside the house anywhere, so this is an ideal place under the deck. I've got plenty of room. It's keeps the water off of me, and doesn't matter if I drop something, because all I've got is gravel down to below. The only thing in here pretty much that I bought was my beautiful Meason anvil. My daughter paid half of this beautiful anvil, brand new. The forge here, of course, you can look at it until I didn't buy that, but like most blacksmith and knife maker forges, since basically everything is in the process of self-destruction. So when it comes time to rebuild it, you don't want to have something really, really fancy. But it is a propane forge, and I use a force air system. Again, my scavenging, I scavenged a blower from a car AC from a junkyard. Here is it's an old potbelly stove that my next door neighbor left when he moved and gave it to me. I used to use that as my main forge, but nowadays I use it when I'm smelting pieces that I put on the knives. This is I got for a steel. It's a 27-ton log splitter, and it was sitting out in front of a Lowe's in the neighborhood in the middle of July last year. And I knew nobody's going to buy a log splitter in July, so I asked him, I said, how much you let me, would you take to let me get this thing out of here? Normally, it had a price tag of $1,200 on it. I paid $250 for a brand new 27-ton hydraulic log splitter. Took the gasoline engine off that came on it and installed a 3-horsepower electric motor, and it really does the job. And right next to it is my homemade power hammer. This is about version 3.0. And again, YouTube has so many different plans and things. This is, it doesn't look important, but it's very important for the way the power hammer operates. It's run off of a 3-horsepower electric motor. It has a system of pulleys, and it has a clutch. And when I engage the clutch, it starts the hammer. The hammer is altogether is really from here down to here, and it weighs about 25 pounds. And when it's on, it's really pounding. So it's 25 pounds coming down like bam, 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 bam. And it's a lot better than trying to bam, bam, bam with my arm on the anvil. All set up, so let's weld. And like most knife makers, I had to teach myself to weld, and after years of doing it, you get pretty good at it. kind of awkward, and the welds in the beginning are terrible. But I think I'm a pretty good welder these days. Until it warms up, sometimes it will blow itself out, so I'm ready to relight it. If you're not quick enough relighting, sometimes it'll scare you to death. Boom! Flame this big comes out. So I always stand to the side here, burn myself enough times where eventually you learn what not to do. My family hates it that I come out here. Right now I'm wearing sandals and shorts, but I don't think I have much skin left that hasn't been burned somewhere. Probably burned all the nerves out anyway. Okay. So the forge is cooking right now. Putting the billet in here. And we just let it heat up until it's as hot as we can get it. It's going to be a bright yellow color when I take it out of the forge, and then we're going to put it under the hydraulic press. Press that billet. All the material inside will be white hot also, and it will forge well. It will actually become one piece of metal. Okay, most people, when they see all this and how much time I spend down here, they think, what's wrong with this guy? Well, I've always had a passion for something like this throughout my whole life. For about 30 years, instead of doing this all the time, every single minute I could spare, I was at the airport flying. Glider pilot, belonged to a glider club, Civil Air Patrol, and if I wasn't flying my glider, I was flying the tow plane, towing gliders. And so all those years of that got to the point where I couldn't fly anymore for health reasons, and had a big void. And to fill that, now taking up the bladesmithing, and it is wonderful. It's almost as dangerous as flying, though, but it's very satisfying. It has when you get to making a blade, it's almost like you go into a trance. You know, you just feel it. You're looking at the blade, the hot steel moving. It's almost magical. The only thing sort of negative about bladesmithing is that when you finish a blade, you think, well, what am I going to do now? Make another blade. First thing you know, you've got a pile of knives laying around. Why do I need all these knives? I couldn't sell them for the amount of labor that I put into each one of them. I have to sell them for $1,000 a piece, and nobody's going to pay that. So I give them away. All my children, my grandchildren, all my friends, they all have one of my knives. And I'm always looking for somebody that I think would really appreciate it. And I love the look on their face when they say, "You made this? Well, this is beautiful." It's very satisfying. And so I get down in the forge and start on another one. Some of my scavenged steel, pretty sure it's 5160 spring steel, because it was part of the leaf spring on my log splitter. Of course, I had to take the trailer parts off of the splitter. So I had some nice string. I cut it in pieces, straighten it out. Always have a bucket of rainwater handy. So I do have on the edge of the forge, when it rains, a little drip that comes down there. It always refills my bucket. It's always good to have it handy to cool down things so you can handle. You don't use this blade you're making in water though, never. It's getting there. You see my tongs in there also. I need to pound them down a little bit so that they will grab this rod. And I'm going to use that for moving the billet around. Right now, it's heating up, and after I smush that down, I'll use my water bucket to cool them off. Okay, anybody that works with forge and handling hot metal, holding that piece of metal is so important. Constantly dropping it and slipping out of your hand, you'll never get anywhere. So you have to have correct tongs, they're called, in order to grab the metal and hang on to it. So you end up making your own sometimes. Here's one set that I made, and you can see it's designed to hold the billet that fits in there, so it doesn't want to go this way, and then this one goes down to grab it from the top. So you can really get a good grip on the billet. Here's another pair I made, same kind, except that sometimes your billet is a little too wide. After you've worked with it a while, it's too wide to fit in here. So I made these little teeth to grab it if it's too wide. All right, time for our first press. See what happens. Press just moved it so easily. You can see when I was compressing it, the scale pops off. One of my favorite parts of making a knife is making the handle. That's what really sometimes makes the knife pop. And I have a lot of experience working with wood. I make a lot of pool cues. And on those I do inlay, and again, it's just an artistic form, and it's helped me to make the handles. I can make a handle very quickly, or if I want it to be elaborate and beautiful, it takes a while. On Forged in Fire, I've noticed that they're more interested in the blade and how the handle feels. Not so much, they realize that you can't do a lot of detail work in the time limit that you have. So your main focus is to make a good blade, sturdy blade, sharp blade, and at the same time put a handle on it that will hold up to the stress and feel good in their hand. I love watching Doug Markida. He's my favorite on the show. When you watch him testing the blade before and after, he's always moving the blade around. I describe it as he's dancing with the blade. He feels it, the movement. He's getting a feel for the knife and how it's going to handle. And then he goes to it. And if everything is good, he'll let you know. So, oh, I love that handle, and the balance, the weight. And then the ultimate is when he says, "It will cut," or it will kill. And you can see it's starting to look like a nice solid billet. And I believe at this point, smush it one more time and then peel the can off. I can't wait to see how the metal looks when we take it out of the can, because all those knife blades are going to be different angles. They're going to be smushed together. You might even be able to see the teeth, but hopefully it's going to be a nice one solid block of steel. Okay, so I'll turn the forge off now. Let's let this guy cool down so we can peel the can off. So the good thing is when I pushed it down and those openings appeared in the can, we didn't see a bunch of sparks coming out. That's good, because that meant that the powdered steel was no longer a powder. It was fused with those bandsaw blades we put in there. So I think we're going to have a really good solid billet. Yeah, here in Georgia we get really hot weather, humid, extremely humid. And you can imagine with the forge going out here and that kind of weather, how hot it can get in here. And I survived that. I have an old blower over here in the corner, blow air, and then stay well hydrated. I've never had any trouble. Let's see if we can get this can open. Open sesame. See something in there. I see steel in there. Alright, what I'm going to do is just cut the end off, because that is the cap. That's not good hardenable steel, so it'll make it much easier to get this thing off. Okay, now you can see it's a good piece of steel all the way through. Just these parts did not fuse. did the same thing on that other side. There's a few delaminations, but looks to me like there's a good billet, plenty of good steel to make a knife with. So now we've finished our billet. Proven to myself and hopefully to you guys that I am capable of taking on a challenge and completing it. This is the first time I've ever done canister Damascus, and it's a good solid billet. I'm hoping that you will strongly consider me as a contestant on Forged in Fire. Thank you very much.